Where's the other half of the board?
We have 2 members out sick tonight, so
Oh,
I only found out about Steve missing out about 2 minutes ago.
Well, I found out about 5 minutes ago, so don't
There
feel
you
bad.
go.
Sorry, Facebook message.
You beat me to the punch.
will this be a short meeting then?
Yeah, so Beth will stand in for Hector and just read the. You can just open the meeting and read the COVID
Okay.
little notification at the top. Unfortunately, you got to read the whole thing through.
Okay.
And then we'll just take it from the top.
Who's gonna read it? You're gonna read it?
Beth is the vice chair, so she'll take over in Hector's place.
Oh, okay, good. Good, Beth. I'm glad it's you.
All right, then it's 6:30. So I would like to open this meeting of the Shrewsbury Affordable Housing Trust. And I'm going to pull up the doc.
And Bernie, you're going to hit record, or we're good? We're live?
My understanding is that we're streaming live.
Okay.
From what Emily said. With Mark on, I presume that's the case.
So, pursuant to Senate Bill 2475, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A 18, this meeting of the Shrewsbury Affordable Housing Trust Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/coronavirus. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by visiting https://www.shrewsburymediaconnection.org/. To participate in the Google Meet with video, please contact Shrewsbury Planning Department at planning@shrewsburyma.gov, and a Google Meet link will be sent to you. To participate by phone in the public comment portion of this meeting, dial 1-716-247-4994 and enter the following PIN 807-854-193 and the #. Please mute your device until the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee addresses your agenda item or opens the meeting to public comment. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Great, thank you. So, Beth, why don't we start with, you called us to order, that's number 1, so why don't we move on to number 2, which is approval of those minutes.
Okay. So I'd like to move review and approval of the minutes from our meeting on February 2nd, 2022.
Are you moving that or am I seconding it?
You should move it,
Okay.
Mo. You should move both December 15th and February
Okay.
2nd.
Okay, that's the right thought. Just want to be sure.
Okay.
So I move we approve the minutes December 15th, 2021 and February 2nd, 2022.
Second.
Okay. I have to pull mine up.
So do a roll call vote when we're ready.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We actually should have done a roll call for members. I know we're only
for
3,
present.
but, yeah, for present.
Okay. So Beth Shea Bryant, Vice Chair, present.
Mark Apollo, present.
Kristen Last, present.
And Steve Trotto and Hector Cruz are both out today. And I am Bernie Cahill, staff, supporting staff.
Okay, Bernie, I meant to pull up the minutes from the meeting, and you sent them via email, correct?
Yep.
Yes, and they're on the shared drive. I didn't receive any comments ahead of time, so I think unless any comments are tonight, I think we're good to approve them.
Okay. That's the agenda. It's the annual time report. I do. Trying to find it. I apologize.
Mo, you made the motions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Kristen seconded, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I can't find the minutes. So I apologize. I got them from 12:15. I don't have them from the second.
Well, if nobody has any comments on it, I think we can still vote.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can vote with no comments.
Can the dog vote?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, you can.
So Beth, after it's been seconded, you just need to say all in favor and then
Okay,
walk.
all in favor, do a roll call vote.
Yep.
Beth J. Bryant, Vice Chair. Yes.
Ward Apollo, yes.
Kristen Lass, yes.
Now I have to go back to the agenda. I don't like technology.
I can help you out. I don't think there's any restriction on me helping
Okay.
out. Number 3 is board member comments.
Board member comments. Okay. So I did read through Grafton, Westboro, and Amherst, at least the beginning part of the documents that you posted in the drive. It didn't. It's a comment that I didn't much care for how Grafton worded their mission statement, where they kind of focused on like the 40B projects. And I know that affordable housing is going to get our affordable housing up to that 10%. I don't personally feel like that should be part of our mission statement. I think we should be focused on the community and bettering the community by having affordable housing.
Yeah. So for board member comments, there's no reason for you to know this, but typically it's for kind of general comments. So
Okay.
it's fine. Obviously what you stated
Okay.
is perfectly fine. So for anything kind of outside regular order, so we will jump into number 5 is to discuss the housing trust format, which you were just talking about. Number 4 was to review and approve the Affordable Housing Trust annual report. So I can speak to both of them really quickly. The first comment is that, and it is related to the Affordable Housing Trust, is on, want to make an announcement for anyone watching out there or watching this repeatedly. On March 29th, the CPC is holding its public forum. That's the Community Preservation Committee. It's going to be held at 6:30 at the library in the center of town. So I hope anyone watching can make it. Affordable housing is one of the topics, of course, CPC is gets funding for and has to distribute funding out for. So the CPC Community Preservation Committee is going to be looking for public input on needs for the 4 big areas that they oversee, which is, of course, affordable housing, open space, recreation, and historical preservation. So if you are available, again, that's Tuesday, March 29th at 6:30 at the public library. The other one is the annual town report. So I think I mentioned this at our last meeting, but every board and committee with staff assistant writes up a brief report for the annual. It's like a book that comes out every year. And what we do is staff helps to summarize what the boards and committees have been up to pretty much in the previous calendar year. So this one is pretty brief. If you've had a chance to read it, it's just a brief history of what happened in 2021. And then next December and January, I'll be drafting another one for what happened in 2022 and what the board got up to, or in this case, the committee during this calendar year. So we typically ask the boards and committees to vote to recommend or at least endorse the annual reports, just for the record. So there need to be a motion and just to endorse the annual town report.
May I move for that?
I think you'd want to ask for, is there a motion?
Okay. Is there a motion to approve, review and approve Affordable Housing Trust annual report?
So moved.
Second, I don't have any further comments.
I don't either.
I don't either. I read it. I thought it looked great. Okay, so then roll call vote.
Yep.
Okay, so Beth Shea Bryant, Vice Chair, aye.
Mo DiPaolo, aye.
Kristen Last, aye.
So
So number 5 is to move on to what you had started us on, Beth, earlier, which is to discuss the housing trust plan format and execution. Being down 2 members this evening, I think it's probably best if we keep this at a kind of high level this evening, and just kind of, as I think you did earlier really well, was kind of just discuss initial reactions and kind of how we want to go forward with crafting this action plan, or I guess we call it an action plan for the Affordable Housing Trust. So I will say no more, Beth. I will let you lead the conversation, but I do have a few comments to make at the end when the 3 of you are done.
well, I threw in my 2 cents, so I'd like to open it up to other members except for the dog, for any comments and input.
Bernie, is there any guidelines for the process of how you put it together?
So
Can I just?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kristen.
No, that's okay. I think when Bernie and I were talking about this after the training, I think Shelley gave us 3 or so paths that we could follow, or maybe a combination of those 3 paths. It could be a full-blown housing plan, prioritization plan. It could be we could set certain goals and then also set benchmarks. So I think Bernie has pulled together nicely for us a combination of all of those from existing municipalities, and certainly definitely willing to talk about it at a high level this evening. I think I would like to hear from the other 2 members as well of what direction we want to go in, before getting too far in the weeds. But I think at this time, I don't even know if I'm comfortable making a selection of if we did an action plan, a goal plan, or a benchmark plan. Maybe we could talk about that tonight.
About that, Kristen, I don't know. I mean, I did look at a few of those. I'm more interested really in the process. Are we going to try to pull together some ideas first, and then it would seem, well, I don't know how we do it, but I would think at some point we'd want some public input once we try to decide on a way to go. But I'm more interested about how we go about the process than the final product, because I think the final product will be the result of the process, right? I think. I mean, I don't know. It is, to be honest with you, I found this whole thing to be a lot more involved than I thought it was. So I'm still trying to digest it all. So I don't think I'm ready to comment on that yet, other than I think we need to come to some consensus of what we think we should be doing. But maybe you have to do the plan first and do a draft. You do a draft plan first and bring it to the public then. I mean, what's the best process to do this, so that our trust is in sync with the town?
Mo, is it all right if I step in,
Yeah.
Madam Vice Chair? Okay. So the way I can tell you the way the CPC is doing it, and we can certainly emulate what they're doing right now, which is first they kind of establish a broad framework of what they wanted that action plan or their CPC plan to look like, and then they're actually required by law to meet with and they are coming to the selectmen, Mo, so in a few weeks, to solicit feedback from certain committees that of course they can do more. And of course I mentioned earlier the public forum, but they do have kind of a framework and some chapters in place, not completed by any means, but certainly in place, and they have an idea of where they want to go with that format. So what they're looking for is kind of to fill out in the blanks with public feedback. So I think you're on the right path the way you're going. And Shelley Guring from Mass Housing Partnership did send me, I did reach out to her since our last meeting, and she kind of said, I can actually read it to you. It says it kind of depends when she's talking about creating goals and tasks. In her experience, it seems to depend on how much the planning community in town has already done and the municipal, bandwidth for more planning and municipal staff capacity. So I think what she's saying there is pretty much, I think what this committee needs to do is make a decision about what kind and how deep and the breadth of what they want the action plan to be, and then we can kind of work our way backwards to say, do we have the capacity for that? Do we need to get a grant for it, right? Should we apply for a grant from one of our housing the housing grants from the state? There's all sorts of different ones which we could do. Should we look for a CMRPC help on it? So it depends on how big you want it to be, and kind of just how all encompassing. I will say that Shrewsbury does have a pretty good housing production plan that was updated just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessary to repeat that one. And from looking at other towns' action plans, it seems like they really some of them distill that down and put like kind of the highlights in their own action plans. So I think in terms of process, I would say continue down the path that we're on. I think the 5 of you will need to choose from the different types out there, like what do you want, how all encompassing do you want this to be? And to Kristen's point, some of them are very comprehensive. Some of them have like 5-year windows. They're looking ahead 5 years and creating plans, usually for each year that budgets all the way out 5 years. We may not be there yet. The other option is to do something more, and I uploaded these just belatedly, and I apologize for that. Brewster has a really good one if you like short plans. I call it the sweet plan. And it gets right to the point, and it's every year, and it gets revised every year, similar to the CPC plan. CPC is going to come back and do everything it's doing this spring, kind of again next year, and they consider it kind of a living document. So I think the board's going to have to weigh, are we going to set a plan and then it's going to kind of be somewhat static for 5 years as we try to go through and achieve those goals, or does it want to be, and again, I'm just throwing broad questions out. I don't expect any answers tonight. Does the committee want it to be something that we revisit every year? The committee revisits every year, considers what updates you want to put in, what's happened on the ground. Do we need to change something, add in some new goals for the next fiscal year, and just do it fiscal year at a time? So I think those are some of the things the committee is going to have to think about. And then I think we will work, I want to say backwards, maybe forwards from there, to determine what kind of help we need. If we need outside help, what kind of capacity I have and my team have to help out with those. So I don't want to belabor that. I also have, if the committee will grant me the extra time here to just keep talking, I wanted to show you one thing that I did get from Shelley that I think from Mass Housing Partnership you will like, and it is uploaded now to your shared drive. But it is this framework that Shelley shared with me. She, I think it's quite nice. It kind of gives the outline, if you will, the bones of what the action plan could look like, and they have it broken down. She has it broken down into parts, or at least Mass Housing Partnership does. Mission statements, goals, strategy, and tasks. So you kind of start big and get small, right? You start overall picture, big picture, what's going on. Here's our goals. And she has an example there. It's a pretty good example, like increase home ownership by 5% among moderate income households. And then strategies, how are you going to do that, right? Like, okay, that's our goal. How do we get there? That's your strategy. Establish a down payment assistance program. And then tasks are going to be the nitty gritty, which is, okay, we've established the program. Now we actually have to establish an application sheet, right? So it just keeps going down to the smaller and smaller until you're actually at the point of receiving applications. So I think this is a really useful tool, and it is uploaded for you. Take a look at it, and I would compare some of these different plans. And hopefully your fellow committee members who are out today have a chance to watch this meeting this evening and catch up on this and see what we're talking about. But I'll reach out to them individually and catch them up anyhow. So that's my piece. I just wanted to say for this evening. But I think it is something that the 5 of you will have to consider as we move forward.
Beth, if I could. So I think I brought this up before, but it seems like in a lot of different areas, not here in particular, but us, the CPC, Board of Selectmen, we're doing a lot of stuff that seems like it's got to be integrated into the town strategic plan. so I guess we have to start somewhere and then bring that into the process, right?
Yeah, I might suggest that the planning staff and myself as staff pull out some items in the housing production plan that the Affordable Housing Trust can react to and respond to, and then perhaps we can get input from the public and then perhaps move to the next step. I feel like we need to do this in incremental fashion because it
Yeah,
is like an elephant. It's so big. We do
right.
actually have quite a bit of money in the account. There's so many ways to spend it. Um, so I think starting small, doing an abstract of what's actually in our housing production plan, updating the data with the 2020 census information, getting some public input and feedback, and then moving forward. We can use some of the money for the consultant if we choose to do additional work. But that's just an idea that I wanted to throw out for the committee's consideration.
I like that idea. And just honest, my opinion, I think being a brand new board and working closely with the CPC, I think we should follow their guidelines. I'm all for short-term goals, just while we're all learning and we're getting this up and running, and review them. Pretty much follow like what the CPC is doing. I mean, they're going to be a funding source, so it just seems if we're going to be working closely with them, just to kind of follow their guidelines.
Yeah, and I think too, I'll repeat to the 3 of you, but 5 of you, I guess, when you're all watching. What I say to the CPC too is that there's no state guidelines for what this action plan needs to look like, which gives the committees, both this committee and the CPC, kind of ultimate flexibility in how you want to do it, which is a curse and a blessing, right? It can go both ways. But at the same time, there's no wrong way to do it. I'm always telling CPC members, like, don't be so hard on yourself. There's no wrong way to do it. And if this committee decides that in a year's time, that plan didn't work out quite the way you wanted it to, there's nothing to stop this committee from saying, well, let's modify it, let's expand it, let's move on it, let's change it, right? It's not quite like a master plan, which has like a 10-year window for a town, where changing it requires, public hearings and meetings and going to different boards and what have you. I mean, this committee you can change it. So if it doesn't work out, or you think you can, fine tune it for the next year or so, by all means, it's not impossible to do. It's totally allowed. So there's no wrong way to do it. That's what I just keep telling people, because I think that's it kind of lessens the burden a little bit. I think people, we can relax and just focus on doing what we think's best and what the committee wants to get done.
Yeah. Bernie, Beth, I think I think I would look towards some broad long-term goals, and then bring it down to reality and some short-term goals, because I do think we need to be flexible, because I think it's kind of like anything else, is what your vision is initially, and as you get into the reality changes what really is possible, and what's going to be the most effective. With a new board with no experience, it is, I think, like Kristen said, take it a step at a time, and if it takes a while to get it there, it takes a while. It's better to get it right, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, Kristen, about a lot of money, I actually I happened to be talking to Hector about a week ago. We were talking about, we got like $1 million, and then we both said, yeah, and how far is that going to go?
Yeah.
So you're not going to build a house with $1 million. You could build a house with $1 million, but I mean, that's it. I mean, we got to figure out with the CPC, I think, what can we do that is sustainable? That because being a flash in the pan is not going to help. But I just think it's going to take time. I think it's baby steps. I think as we learn, we find out more about what it is we want to do. There might be some low-hanging fruit that we could do right away. There might be some other long-term goals, and from what I picked up from we had the workshop, and in my conversation with Hector, it's really going to be how active this board wants to be and can be. And you know, we're fortunate we have staff that can help us with this. But I think really what our goals are going to be and what we're going to try to implement is going to depend on how much support we have from staff, which I know will be a lot, and how much time we want to put into it, but we can put into it. So I think that's going to affect broadly our goals and our strategies. And it's just going to have to work it out. And it's kind of hard to have this discussion with only 3 of us tonight. So unfortunately, but kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think Mo, when I was saying we have a lot of money, I was more so thinking we can't build a house for sure, but we can at least splurge on a consultant to help us develop a plan if we choose to go that route.
No, I knew what you were saying, but
Yeah.
people go, "Oh, you got $1 million and you try whatever we got, some 900,000, whatever it is." And if you start talking about trying to buy a house or something like that, yeah, you can buy a house, but you're not gonna be able to do much. You know, and maybe that's a long-term goal, but maybe the short-term goal is finding, I don't know, whatever, finding a way to help people put a down payment or, I don't know, help subsidize the rent. I don't, whatever. It might be baby steps to work up to the big stuff. So
Agreed. Yep.
To your point about the monies, I think my jaw dropped in the training when she said to, like, my dream, like, to take small houses like my little ranch and, you know, be able to make it affordable to other people cost $225,000. And I was like, that money's going to go real quick at that rate. So,
yeah.
you know, may have to table that until we get a little bit more funding and see how else we can help folks. And
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. So
any more on the housing trust plan format, excuse me, and execution?
No, I would just reiterate to the 3 of you and also to the 2 other committee members just to take a look again at those action plans I've uploaded. Kind of notice the differences, not just in length, but also in content. And you will see, and also take a look at, actually, you just kind of made me think of this now, Mo did, about some of the newer ones versus some of the older ones, right? Because some of the ones that have been around several years have different goals and tasks than the newer ones. And I think the newer ones in the last few years are the ones we probably want to look at because their first year tasks are going to be much more similar to what you're doing versus these kind of old timers who've been around for 20 years and they've got it down and they're well into the weeds. Because some of the tasks are exactly the things you're talking about, Mo, about, you know, just even figuring out, you can actually see it as you look through these reports. They'll say, you know, figure out how it works to purchase a property, right? Like, how does it work with CPC? Those are some of the actual goals they have for those first year tasks. So, or I should say goals and then of course the tasks, you know. But that's all I have to say though, I think. I don't have anything else.
Then we can move on to determine next steps and assignments for housing trust members.
You're the boss, Beth. You're the boss tonight.
I know. So,
You can give everything to Steve and Hector because they're not here. So
okay.
sign away.
And I assign determining the next steps and assignments for housing trust members to Steve and Hector.
I think the next steps should probably be, well, from the staff side, certainly I think Kristen has a really good idea that we can start to, well, she and I can talk about it too offline, but kind of start to, let's say nudge the board isn't quite the right way to put it, but kind of go through the housing production plan and pull out some of those broader goals and ideas from it and start putting them on paper and see how that comes out, and submit it to the committee to discuss for next time. But I think, again, I'm just proposing, the committee can do as it pleases, but to, again, look through and see if there is a format that you really like. Take a look at that goals framework again, and see if we can't come at the next meeting to some sort of consensus, at least initially, that we'll kind of plan generally. I mean, we don't have to have exact goals. I think that's something we worked through at CPC as well, that we kind of had to parse out, is that it doesn't have to be exactly a goal from one of these other communities, but just how did they present their goals? How do they present their tasks? What do you like about that? Is that a good way? And then see if we can't come to an agreement next time, and then keep adding to that. And I think, because that, just getting there, I can tell you just from the past 2 months of CPC, getting to that point was huge. And then once we had that kind of framework for the report, we could start to fill in the outline, right? Because we knew the outline. So it's like, well, now we have to send people out in the committee to get that information and then fill it in. And, it made the tasks so much easier. Not easy, but easier for sure. So that would just be my staff recommendation.
And how about the mission statement? Are we gonna? I mean, I'm certainly happy to submit a mission statement.
Yeah, take a look at the actual bylaw for when this was set up. The Affordable Housing Trust was set up. There was something of a mission statement at the top. There's no harm in copying and pasting it and just maybe tweaking it a little bit. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if you want to propose another one, of course you can.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. I mean, is that something I can put together, submit for our next meeting?
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? I mean, it gets the board committee kind of focused on what it's trying to do overall, even as it moves forward with this action plan. So I think there's definitely no harm in that. And whatever type of report or action plan the committee wants, in the end, I think a mission statement at the top makes good sense.
Well, it just seems it just kind of sets the direction.
Yeah.
Like to have that mission statement, it's like the bare bones, like what are we all about? What are we, what are we here for? So it kind of just sets that tone, and we can take it from there. It just seems like things would flow easier if we just had that little blurb to follow.
That's a question, I guess, to Bernie or Kristen. Doesn't the I can't think of the name of the, what is it, the affordable, what's the name of the nonprofit that Shelley works for? I went brain dead.
Mass Housing Partnership.
So doesn't that have like all the plans on it?
They have several examples. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they had them. I thought there was a place they had them all.
I think they're actually, I can ask, I believe they can act as a consultant on these plans too. I'll have to double check with Shelley. I thought that was a service they offered as well. And actually the grant can come out of Mass Housing Partnership, I think, to help us if we wanted to apply for a grant directly through them. But let me double check on that for next time.
The reason I was asking Bernie is there might be some plans that we kind of like, but they're from communities that aren't like us and may not be realistic for us. I then would spend some time trying to look at housing production plans of communities that demographically, whatever, might be a little more like us, because that might help inform us of what's be realistic. And I mean, just extreme. I think a Newton one might give us some ideas, but I think it's going to be much different than like a Franklin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly we can pick anything, but I think I'm going to do that and maybe try to bring some stuff forward for the next meeting of communities that we usually compare ourselves to, how their plans are.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, Mo. If you do find the ones you do find, could you actually let me know, and I'll create like a subfolder.
I'll send them,
and we can like maybe put a little primer about each community for population size, and I think that would really help. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, that's my mission for the next meeting.
We have our homework.
Yeah.
My next step is to help Bernie go through the housing production plan and provide you all with an outline for next meeting of those high level goals. And Beth's going to do the mission statement draft. So I think we all have marching orders.
Yeah.
And Steve and Hector do everything else.
Right.
Okay, so that moves. Any other discussion around agenda item number 6?
Yep.
Okay, there being none, we will move on to other business. I have nothing.
Nope.
All the business.
I don't have anything.
All right. Mr. Cahill?
I am all set, thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, then we will move on to item number 8, is to set the next meeting date.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Maybe it's too much for everybody, but maybe we got to wait till the next meeting, but it seems like a meeting once a month in the beginning to try to put this together. It might take a lot longer than if we met like every 3 weeks if people could do it. I think it helps. I think it helps keep the momentum going, especially in the beginning. I just something to think about. I go back to when I got on the Central Mass MPO and we were meeting every quarter, and it took forever to get anything done. And I know that's an extreme, but when we went to once a month, things happened a lot quicker. So I just think it's something to think about. If we decide we wanted to get something going by a certain time, if we can do it, maybe we meet a little bit more frequently. Just an idea. I know people have time constraints, but
Yeah, I don't think, Mo, we should be making those decisions tonight. I think it's
no.
we're
It's a think
discussing,
about it.
but let's keep it in the back of our minds for the next meeting, just so we have a full committee
Right.
to discuss it. But we can also discuss, I mean, there's also, again, I keep relying, CPC's most frequently in my mind, because it's most recently in my mind, is once we start breaking out into like little working groups of twos, that also kind of makes up for kind of the meetings, because that's what CPC is doing right now. They kind of have little action groups of 2 or 3 people because they're a bigger committee, and they go out and kind of focus on one thing, which kind of, if you will, supplements for that more often meetings. And then they bring it back to the monthly group, which is happening as it happens Monday. So let's talk about it. I think it's worth considering, but let's have a discussion when everyone's in the room.
So actually, that's a good idea, because as you were saying that, I was thinking about the fiscal study committees, when we broke out into groups and then came back and reported and stuff. So we were doing stuff in the off time, kept stuff moving. So maybe that's the right way to go. But I wasn't suggesting we make a decision tonight, but I don't know about everybody else, but I'd like to get going on it.
So
I'm not opposed to
I
meeting
have
more frequently. So.
April 6th as the first Wednesday of April. Kristen did ask me, and I have not got around to it yet. Probably one of the assistant planners will help out looking for different availabilities for some of the town hall rooms and nights. But I know it means, again, coordinating with the whole committee in the room. But we are looking at possibly other times, because we conflict right now with the school committee. So we want to make sure if we do go to town hall, obviously we're not going to conflict. So just to let you know, we are looking. But right now, April 6th would be the next housing trust, if we can continue with the schedule, which I think, did we already set a schedule? Can't remember now.
I don't believe so.
I don't think we went out past today's date, so
Okay.
I'm not opposed if we ask Hector and Steve if April 6th works. That's fine.
Yep. Okay.
So we'll have a tentative April 6th at 6:30. Site TBD.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty.
All right.
Then we move to agenda item number 9, which is to adjourn.
So move.
Second, Kristen Lass.
Oh, no.
That's Jay Bryant. Okay, so we are adjourned.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Take good
Bye-bye.
care.